On the night of June 5th, 1944, the success of D-Day seemed to rest entirely on an unusual aircraft, the Airspeed Horsa, which British pilots deemed a, quote, silent coffin. In the tense blackness of the sky, the sudden snap as the tow cables released was deafening. There was no turning back now. Major John Howard gripped his weapon tightly as the horses began their silent, precarious descent. Below, Rommel's asparagus fields waited. Thousands of poles, spaced at 15 to 40-foot intervals, turned potential landing fields into death traps, promising a swift and brutal end to any aircraft that strayed too low. There was no room for error. The horses carrying Howard and his men would either prove to be some of the sneakiest stealth aircraft of the war, or they would be ripped apart. The Airspeed Horsa slipped silently through the skies during World War II, giving the Allies unmatched stealth and precision during critical missions. Now, you too can step into a world of tactical mastery in War Thunder, where you can command over 2,500 vehicles that give you every possible edge in combat. From biplanes and World War II bombers to state-of-the-art jets and warships, War Thunder brings history's most powerful machines to life, putting you at the helm with one goal: victory. And the best part is that it's free to play on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile. War Thunder's realism sets it apart from any combat game out there. With an intricate damage model, each vehicle is susceptible to specific hits. Engines, fuel tanks, weapon systems, every component can be disabled or destroyed, impacting how you fight and maneuver. The X-ray view makes every skirmish an intense study in precision, showing where your shot landed and how it affected the enemy. This allows you to deploy advanced tactics, just like a real commander. Choose your battleground in arcade, realistic, or simulator mode. Whether you're looking for high-speed skirmishes or full-on strategic warfare, War Thunder's range of modes delivers the challenge you want. Here at Dark Skies, we're especially hooked on customizing vehicles with authentic World War II camouflage and iconic squadron insignias. It's a perfect way to get into the role and feel the legacy of these machines. Moreover, War Thunder now has a brand new mobile version for iOS and Android, so you can bring the battlefield with you wherever you go. With over 70 million players worldwide, you'll be joining a massive community of history buffs and battle-hardened strategists. Use our links in the description below to sign up. And if you're a new player, or have been inactive for 6 months on PC and consoles only, you'll score an exclusive bonus pack with premium vehicles, the Eagle of Valor Decorator, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account access. This offer won't last forever. Gear up now. By early 1944, planning for Operation Tonga, the invasion of Normandy, led by General Dwight D. Eisenhower, was in full swing. Supporting the massive assault on 5 beaches all along the French coast were airborne divisions with the task of securing key objectives inland. Among them, Major General Richard Gale's British 6th Airborne Division had to defend the eastern flank from potential German counterattacks. At the heart of their objective lay 2 vital bridges over the Caen Canal and Orne River, parallel waterways near Bénouville that created a strong natural barrier. The loss of these bridges would expose the troops landing at nearby Sword Beach to devastating counterattacks and sever the division's connection with reinforcements dropping further east. Without control of these crossings, the 6th Airborne would be isolated between 2 waterways, cut off from support and vulnerable to German forces closing in from all sides. Of course, the Germans were also well aware of the importance of these structures. Protecting these bridges were around 50 men from the Wehrmacht's 716th Infantry Division, a mix of seasoned German soldiers and conscripts from occupied territories, protecting the area at all hours of the day. Led by Major Hans Schmidt, these defenders had further fortified the site with concrete bunkers, machine guns, an anti-tank gun, and layers of barbed wire protecting the approaches. But the most dangerous element was the network of explosives, ready to blow the bridges at a moment's notice. For this obstacle, the Allies got to work on Operation Dead Stick. However, a conventional assault would trigger disaster. Tanks and infantry would be quickly overtaken or set off the explosives, and paratroopers risked landing too far from the objective to make an impact. The only way to take the bridges intact was a coup de main, a quiet infiltration, and a lightning-fast assault. For that, Britain had the perfect tool, the Airspeed Horsa glider. Britain's best World War II glider was purpose-built for delivering troops and equipment silently into the heart of enemy territory. Developed in record time, the Airspeed Horsa went from the drawing board to the air in 10 months and was also incredibly unique. Due to material shortages and the urgent need for mass production, the type was made primarily from wood and made of over 30 separate components. According to aviation historian Taylor Mrazek, quote, "It must have been the most wooden aircraft ever built. Even the controls in the cockpit were masterpieces of the woodworker's skill." The Horsa was first used during Operation Freshman on the night of November 19, 1942, where 2 gliders were tasked with delivering 15 sappers each for a daring strike on the German heavy water plant at Rjukan, Norway. But the mission, plagued by bad weather, quickly turned disastrous when one of the Halifax tow planes and both Horsas crashed in the harsh Norwegian terrain. The 23 survivors were captured, and under direct orders from Adolf Hitler, their lives ended in a tragedy that severely violated the Geneva Convention. The next major deployment of the type came on July 10, 1943, during Operation Husky, the Allied invasion of Sicily. This marked their first large-scale use, with 27 Horsas ferrying troops into the battlefield as part of a massive airborne assault. But now, the model was about to take on an even more critical role, one that would test every aspect of its design and the bravery of its pilots. The Airspeed Horsa was the perfect choice for Operation Deadstick for one simple reason: stealth. The glider had no engine, making its descent completely silent. The model featured a tow hitch at the front, relying on bomber aircraft like the Handley Page Halifax or Short Stirling to reach the sky. Once the cable was released from the cockpit at the drop zone, it glided soundlessly toward the landing zone, with pilots relying on skill to bring the craft down to a precise point, often in pitch dark. Once on the ground, its large reinforced doors allowed troops and equipment to exit swiftly, perfect for rapid and immediate assaults. Designed to carry up to 30 fully equipped soldiers or a combination of vehicles, guns, and supplies, the Airspeed Horsa had an impressive 88-foot wingspan and a lightweight frame. The glider's high-wing design provided excellent lift and stability during flight, while its semi-monocoque-shaped fuselage ensured structural strength without adding excessive weight. Nonetheless, this all-wooden model was not for the faint of heart, and the British gave their Horsa an eerie nickname: the Silent Coffin. Operation Deadstick required precision, timing, and discipline. After reviewing the available options, Major General Richard Gale tasked the brigadier of the 6th Air Landing Brigade with selecting his top company for the mission. The chosen team for the critical task of capturing the bridges over the Caen Canal and Orne River was Major John Howard's D Company, a unit of highly trained soldiers. 6 Airspeed Horsa gliders, each carrying 28 men, would make their silent landings at their destination. In addition to soldiers from D Company, the team had infantry from the Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire Light Infantry and a platoon of Royal Engineers. These sappers were tasked with locating and disabling every single explosive rigged to destroy the bridges. In addition to their men, the Horsa gliders' holds were packed with essential equipment: jeeps for mobility, anti-tank guns to counter German armor, and ample ammunition supplies, every item carefully selected to ensure the team could hold the bridges once captured. Anticipating intense night combat, Howard altered his men's routines. For weeks, they trained through the night, rising at 8 p.m. for exercises and drills, and going to bed at 1 a.m. The Horsa pilots from the Glider Pilot Regiment, an elite unit specially trained to handle the delicate and often unpredictable gliders, underwent equally rigorous preparation, studying aerial photographs, memorizing the landscape, and rehearsing bridge mock-ups, preparing for every possible scenario. As June approached, the pressure mounted. With no engines and no way to adjust course mid-flight, the Horsas had to be released at exactly the right moment over enemy territory. The pilots knew they had just one chance to land within a few hundred feet of the bridges. By the eve of the operation, all men involved had developed an intimate knowledge of the terrain, risks, and objectives. On June 5, 1944, only a few hours before the largest amphibious invasion in history began. Right before 11 p.m., 6 Airspeed Horsa gliders left RAF Tarrant Rushton in Dorset, southern England, towed into the air by Halifax bombers. Inside these gliders, a total of 181 soldiers sat in tense silence, knowing this mission would determine the success of D-Day's eastern flank. For what felt like hours, the gliders flew silently over the English Channel at a height of 7,000 feet, approaching the French coast. Shortly past midnight on June 6th, one by one, the gliders detached from their tow planes. From then on, the Horsa pilots were flying blind, guided just by calculations, experience, and sheer luck, guiding them closer to their target as they made their descent. Further adding to the dangers were the anti-aircraft obstacles known as Rommel's asparagus, thick wooden poles planted across likely landing zones, spaced 15 to 40 feet apart, intended to rip through or spear incoming gliders. At 12:16 a.m., Staff Sergeant Jim Walwork crash-landed the first glider only a couple feet from Caen Bridge, and the remaining gliders followed closely behind, some landing safely, others crashing into obstacles like ponds. Nonetheless, the British troops immediately rushed out, weapons at the ready, charging toward their objectives. In a whirlwind of movement, the British forces surged forward, catching the defenders off guard and preventing them from detonating the explosives meant to destroy the tactically crucial bridges. By 12:30 a.m., the bridges were firmly in Allied hands, but victory came at a cost. Lieutenant Brotheridge, the platoon commander of the first group to charge across the Caen Canal Bridge after the gliders landed, became the first Allied combat casualty of D-Day. With the mission's success hinging on reinforcements, at around 3 a.m., the sky filled with parachutes, and hundreds of troops from the 7th Parachute Battalion descended to bolster the glider-borne forces. But the men's arrival was just in time, as the Germans, shaking off their initial shock, were already mounting a fierce counteroffensive. For hours, the battle raged, the defenders unleashing everything they had at reclaiming the bridges, turning the area into a maelstrom of gunfire and explosions. From infantry assaults to machine gun fire, the Germans were under constant pressure. A German fighter swooped in, dropping a bomb directly onto the bridge, only for it to bounce off the structure and plunge harmlessly into the canal below. At 1 p.m., after hours of relentless fighting, the sound of bagpipes filled the air. Piper Bill Millen led Lord Lovett's commandos toward Pegasus Bridge, his tunes cutting through the smoke and exhaustion. For Major Howard's men, who had held the bridge through the night, the bagpipes were a signal of hope. And as Lovett's men marched in, the battle for the bridge was won. The defenders could finally breathe, knowing they had secured one of the most crucial objectives of D-Day. Simultaneously, just miles away, the main Allied landings on the beaches were well underway, with tens of thousands of soldiers pushing inland. The fight for Normandy had truly begun. After Operation Dead Stick succeeded, the captured bridges became vital for the Allies. In the days that followed, countless soldiers and vehicles used these crossings to push deeper into France, turning the D-Day landings into a full-scale invasion. Of the 181 men, 139 infantry, 30 engineers, and 12 pilots landed on Normandy aboard the Horsas, there were only 2 casualties and 14 wounded. Air Chief Marshal Trafford Lee Mallory termed the performance of the glider pilots as, quote, one of the most outstanding flying achievements of the war, and awarded 8 of them with the Distinguished Flying Medal. To honor the brave soldiers of Operation Dead Stick, both bridges received new names. The Caen Canal Bridge became Pegasus Bridge, after the winged horse symbol of the 6th Airborne Division. The River Orne Bridge was called Horsa Bridge, remembering the gliders that brought the troops to their target. Operation Dead Stick wasn't the only use of the Airspeed Horsa on D-Day. All over the coast of France, gliders supported various missions, such as the assault on the Merville Battery, where they delivered paratroopers and sappers to dismantle the German artillery threatening the landings. Overall, this engineless aircraft is present even in the most hostile conditions. After D-Day, the Airspeed Horsa glider continued to play a key role in other pivotal operations of World War II. In September, during Operation Market Garden, a massive airborne assault, more than 2,000 Horsa gliders carried troops and supplies into the Netherlands. Later, in March 1945, during Operation Varsity, more than 440 horses took part in the largest airborne operation of the war, crossing the Rhine River and helping secure vital territory as the Allies finally advanced into Germany. Even in the final stages of the war, the Horsa's ability to deliver soldiers and heavy equipment with precision remained unmatched. A total of approximately 3,655 Horsa gliders were produced, including the Horsa Mark II, which featured a reinforced floor and a hinged nose for easier vehicle loading. However, the exact number remains uncertain due to the scattered nature of their production across various subcontracted factories, many of which suffered damage from German attacks. Despite the challenges of wartime production, the Horsa proved to be one of the most successful gliders of World War II, second only to the American Waco CG-4. Together, and while relatively unknown, these gliders helped shape the success of the Allies' airborne operations. Play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile. Use the links below to join, and if you're new or returning after 6 months, either on PC or consoles, grab a limited-time bonus pack with premium vehicles, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account access. Take command. Don't miss this